Hi, I'm Ruth Rothlingshofer, and this is my final presentation. To begin, I'd like to share a quote that I've always enjoyed by Max Dupree. He's a successful businessman who fostered the idea of an inclusive corporation, one in which all voices are heard. He was known for his efforts to combine a caring, culturally diverse organization with business success. He said, "We need to give each other the space to grow, to be ourselves, to exercise our diversity. We need to give each other space so that we may both give and receive such beautiful things as ideas, openness, dignity, joy, healing, and inclusion." Through the readings for this course, I feel that I'm better able to analyze the influence of culturally unresponsive as well as responsive environments on the psychological, social, and emotional development of culturally diverse students in gifted programs. Example 1, the case of Ramirez. An unresponsive cultural environment can cause a cultural disconnect that often leads to poor self-concepts, discipline problems, and poor academic outcomes for ethnic minorities. Part of the problem is that teachers unfamiliar with students' diverse backgrounds sometimes misinterpret cultural differences as misbehavior. Studies have established that minority students are suspended from school more frequently and for longer durations and disproportionately referred for special education services. The case of Ramirez, which is found on page 239 of the Ford book, illustrates the harmful effect that an unresponsive cultural environment can have on a student. Ramirez, a Latino male, attended a predominantly racially and culturally different public elementary school in grades K through 3. Here, he was identified as gifted, and he was placed in the gifted education program in the 2nd grade. But then his family moved to a predominantly white school in the 4th grade, where he experienced a negative environment. A series of events caused by an unresponsive cultural environment led Ramirez to become frustrated and very angry. He was having trouble with his peers as well as his teachers. This led his teachers to recommend him for special education. His parents were shocked. They wondered how their son could have gone from being a gifted and happy child to being miserable and recommended for special education. When his parents finally brought him to counseling, he had been suspended for fighting. This case study really drives home the harmful consequences that can occur from an unresponsive cultural environment. I would recommend reading the entire case study and answering the questions that Ford presented at the end. Example 2, a culturally responsive environment. The readings and the posts from this class helped me to have a deeper understanding of what a culturally responsive environment means. Culturally responsive environments emphasize the importance of understanding the cultural characteristics and contributions of various ethnic groups and showing respect toward these students and their culture. It uses the cultural characteristics, experiences, and perspectives of ethnically diverse students as channels for teaching them more effectively. Students both are more engaged in learning and learn more effectively when the knowledge and skills taught are presented within the context of their experience in cultural frames of reference. Through this course, I also came to understand that cultural differences like different holidays, fashion, dance, music, literature, and language are but the tip of the iceberg. It is also important to consider questions like the following when thinking about how a culture might differ from your own. You may consider, what values does this culture embrace, and how do they compare to those of your own? How do people make decisions, conduct relationships, and display emotion? How does this culture treat time and scheduling? What are the social rules and boundaries surrounding gender? How does this culture display and respect authority? How do people in this culture communicate, and how direct are they in what they say and mean? A culturally responsive environment would take all these things into consideration. Also, culturally responsive teachers would help diverse students view knowledge and learning as empowering. Above all, however, teachers must treat all students with respect and show them that they are worthy of being cared for. Objective 2. Through the readings for this course, I was able to greatly increase my understanding of and meet the goal of the following course objective. Understand the role of multiculturalism in addressing patterns of achievement and underachievement among underrepresented populations of gifted students. Example 1. The readings and posts from this course helped me to understand a number of factors that cause gifted minority students to underachieve. Something that's extremely important to recognize is that the definition of achievement in a particular subculture may be very different from that of one in the dominant culture. What is prized as achievement in one culture may not be valued in another, and it is difficult to impose another belief system on a culture that may define achievement and underachievement differently than a particular teacher or school system. Poor self-esteem and low academic and social self-concepts contribute significantly to underachievement of culturally diverse students. Ford and Grantham maintained that minority students who do not hold positive racial identities may be especially vulnerable to negative peer pressures. They may also equate achievement with acting white or selling out, which contributes to low effort and produces low achievement. Specifically, many gifted minority students must choose between the need for achievement and the need for affiliation with their peers. These students often give in to negative social pressures so that the need for affiliation outweighs the need for achievement. Minority underachievers often express concerns regarding the lack of attention to multicultural education in their classes, which contributed to their lack of interest in school. It is so important that educators recognize the importance of including cultural references in different aspects of learning. This contributes to a positive self-image for the students. Teacher expectations also have a powerful impact on student achievement. Some teachers tend to have lower expectations for minority and low-income students than for other students. Consequently, minority students may not be identified as gifted. These teachers are less likely to refer minority students for gifted education services. When students do not have access to appropriate education, they have difficulty reaching their potential. The result may be underachievement due to disinterest, frustration, or lack of challenge. Excessive use of competition can also hinder students' achievement, damaging academic motivation and educational engagement. Given the more social and less competitive nature of minority students, competition can heighten students' anxieties, lower their achievement motivation, and lower their academic and social self-concepts. This produces underachievement. Student underachievement is a complex problem. Reversing underachievement among gifted minority students requires intensive efforts on the parts of teachers and counselors, as well as a partnership with parents and students. My own personal work includes finding solutions for the underachievement of dyslexic children. I am able to see some similarities between the causal factors for the underachievement of both dyslexic and minority students. Sometimes students are considered underachievers because educational systems are blinded to their potential. I feel that all students should be given every opportunity to develop their gifts and talents. Example 2. There was a study done about how beneficial it is for parents to read to their kids in their native language. The impact of cross-linguistic storybook intervention on English language development in preschoolers was observed. The researchers selected books that were available in the children's home language, Spanish in this case, and in English. Parents were asked to read the books in their native language. Meanwhile, during school hours, teachers read the same books in English. During the period of time that parents and teachers were reading the same books, these preschoolers increased the frequency of their utterances, increase the length of their utterances, and increase the use of spontaneous interactions in the classroom. So, to sum it up, when parents read to their children in Spanish, the children's language skills in the English-speaking environment increased in frequency and complexity. One mother who participated in the study commented that the intervention gave her permission to read to her child in Spanish. Teachers who saw the improvements in emergent English language and literacy skills as a result of this intervention were more inclined to encourage the use of a child's home language in the classroom. It was very interesting that a student whose first language was Spanish actually showed greater improvement in learning English when they also learned the same material in Spanish. Future plans, 2 areas of growth. A deeper understanding of cultural diversity. This course has certainly provided an abundance of thought-provoking ideas about cultural diversity to consider in depth. For example, how do different cultures make decisions, conduct relationships, display emotion, and communicate? In my particular situation as a homeschool teacher of my 2 grandchildren, I am looking forward to sharing with them many of the perspectives about how we can take into account the cultural differences in diverse groups of people. I would especially like to impress upon my grandchildren that taking these differences into consideration can greatly improve our relationships with others. The importance of respecting linguistic diversity. With my goal of writing a book for dyslexic children, I will certainly be sensitive to the needs of culturally diverse children. Not only do the words of the book need to be culturally sensitive, but the illustrations have to be inclusive of different cultures. I would like to write a book that would be produced in many languages. Referring back to the quote by Max Dupree, I have a heartfelt desire to share with others an invitation to exercise our diversity, so that we may both give and receive such beautiful things as ideas, openness, dignity, joy, healing, and inclusion. The first organization that I would like to recommend is the Association for the Gifted, which is a division of the Council for Exceptional Children. Their statement of mission says, "Diversity and excellence are each essential to the realization of ideals in a democratic society. These ideals have been the cornerstone of our achievements as a society. Diversity has been a topic of discussion in America for decades. Embedded in discussions of diversity and excellence are race, culture, ethnic class, gender, sexual orientation, and linguistic issues. Nowhere are these issues more evident than in education. As our society continues to become more diverse, it is even more important that we develop the great variety of gifts and talents of all children and youth in our nation." I would also recommend the World Council for Gifted and Talented Children. This is a worldwide non-profit organization that provides advocacy and support for gifted children. It is a diverse organization networking the globe with an active membership of educators, scholars, researchers, parents, and others interested in the development and education of gifted and talented children of all ages and cultures. The World Council was founded more than 35 years ago and hosts a biennial world conference at a major international city during the late August or early August in odd number years. The 2017 World Conference will take place in Sydney, Australia. The mission of the World Council for Gifted and Talented Children is to focus world attention on gifted and talented children and ensure the realization of their valuable potential to the benefit of humankind. Thanks for listening to my presentation.